The purpose of this clip is to demonstrate a simple procedure in PLSQL. So to have on the screen here is a PLSQL procedure on my left and the Oracle environment on my right. So I've just logged into Oracle and I'm looking at an SQL prompt. On my left hand side I have a question which says show and display the largest and smallest salaries for employees and the difference between them. So then I have the command to clear the screen and to set server output on size 1 million. So there's two commands here, clear screen and set server output on, which I'll just execute first and I'll explain their importance later on. So I'm just going to bring them across and paste them in. So these are two SQL plus commands, and they have an effect on the environment. Clear screen is very convenient because it just means you can clear the screen and avoid the clutter of the previous work you were doing being visible. Set server output on when you're working on PLSQL procedures is very, very important, because unless server output is turned on, then what we'll call the print command in Oracle won't display its results at all. So always make sure server output is on if you plan to display the processing of the procedure as it executes on screen. If server output is off, then you won't see the results or the processing as you might expect it to be. So they're preliminary steps that are important in every PLSQL procedure you write. So then what we have between the create up here and the end and the / down the bottom is we have the procedure. So everything between create and the / is part of the procedure. So because we want to show the largest and smallest employee salaries and the difference between them, we're going to need some way of getting the smallest and largest salaries. And in PLSQL, when you get the largest salary and the smallest salary, you have to have somewhere to store them. And likewise, when you want to calculate the difference, you have to have somewhere to store the difference. So in that instance, or in that situation, you need to have some variables declared. So below the word create, we have some variables. We have three variables here, named vmaxsal, vminsal, and vsalrange. So try to give your variables meaningful names always. And all three of those variables are numbers, and they're all size 4 in this case, because in the emp table, the largest salary is a 4-digit number. So therefore, the variables need to be able to hold a 4-digit number based on that kind of situation. So that's the declaration section where you declare the variables. The line above that I skipped over there is where you create and name the procedure. So in this case it says create or replace the procedure. So replace it means if a procedure already exists, you don't have to drop it, you can just overwrite it. So it's just a more convenient way of avoiding writing a drop command followed by a create command. So create or replace will overwrite the procedure, and the procedure name in this case is calc emp sal range. So again, try and give the procedure some kind of meaningful name. So in this case, we're going to need three variables. So I have three variables declared, and each of them begins with the letters v underscore. And as far as possible, I try and include the column name in the variable name as well. So that's why it's called v underscore maxsal, v minsal, and v sal range, to let us know that all three of those variables in some way deal with salaries. Between the word begin and the end then is where the main processing takes place. So in this procedure, what we have to do is we have to do two things. We have to get the largest and smallest salaries. That's why it says select maxsal and minsal. And in PLSQL, when you get data from a table, you must have somewhere to put it. So it says then into vmaxsal and vminsal. So if you contrast that with SQL, in SQL you write a query and you just say select maxsal, minsal from emp, and the data appears on screen. But in PLSQL, when you write a select statement, you must have an appropriate number of locations to store the results of the select. So here we're retrieving two items or two values, the maxsal and the minsal. Therefore, we must have two places or two variables to hold the results. Once we've done that, we can then calculate the difference between the two of them. So here we have the expression vsal range : equals the v max sal minus the v min sal. So that expression means that v sal range at the end of it is going to store the difference between the v max sal and the min sal. And obviously, if you've done the select statement and the calculation of the v sal range, the next thing you'll want to do is in some way show that that processing has taken place and that the results are correct. So then if you see the comment statement here in blue italics, is this comment statement says display the salary statistics for employees. So comment statements in PLSQL, like all other languages, are very helpful. And the comment statements, you begin them with a / and you end them with an */. That's one way of doing it. There's a second way. And then what I have is 3 separate commands that are going to present or print the 3 values. So this command dbms output put line bracket open bracket maximum salary inside quotes, the 2 pipes, and the v max sal will display the message maximum salary and the actual value on one line on the screen. And that's followed then by the minimum salary and finally by the salary range. So on the output, when you see it on screen a little bit later on, you will see 3 lines of output with the messages maximum salary, minimum salary, and salary range. And the 3 values will then be opposite the 3 labels that I've shown here. And that then means we're at the end of the application or the end of the procedure. So you say end and the name of the procedure. And then the vital character at the very, very end is the /. So in PLSQL, the end of the application is always a /. So when you're writing a procedure or a trigger or a package or a function, as you may see later on, it always ends with a /. So if you notice earlier on in the procedure, we have a number of semicolons at the end of certain lines. Not at the end of every line, but at the end of some lines. So the semicolon is the critical character in SQL, but in PLSQL, the / is the critical character. So what we're going to do is we're going to create the procedure and we're going to compile it. But we're going to introduce a little mistake before we do this. So I'm just going to remove the semicolon here at the end of the calculation. And I'm going to try to compile the procedure. So in this case, I will copy across the clear screen and the set server output command again, just to put them in again. So I have my procedure created, but it says I have compilation errors. So now I know there's a mistake in it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fix my mistake. Sorry, before I fix my mistake, rather, I'm going to try and see, can I see where the errors are? So the show error command is the command to enable you to try to pinpoint the error. Identify where the error or errors might be. So it seems to say here that it's on line 13. And it's early in line 13. So the line 13 is a dbms output command. Line 12 is a comment statement, so the comment statement has no real impact. Line 11 is blank. But line 10 is the line with the mistake in. So what's happening here is the machine or the Oracle is moving on to line 13. It can't make sense of line 13. And the reason it can't make sense of line 13 is because line 10 hasn't been finished properly. So just like in SQL, the error message you're getting, it may not be the line that Oracle is telling you or suggesting to you it might be on. It may well be an earlier line. So check the first or the earliest line that has a meaningful command in it before where the error is appearing. So as I said, we're going to put back in the semicolon, and what I'd have to do now is I have to compile the entire procedure again. So I'm going to clear my screen as well. I'm going to go all the way from clear screen down as far as the show error message, so it'll avoid cluttering up the screen, as you'll see in a second. So pasting it in again, and now I'm just left with the new procedure, its compilation, and it says this time that there are no errors in it. So I now know the procedure has no syntax errors. It may well have logic errors, but it has no syntax errors. My next effort is to execute the procedure. So when I execute it, just bring across the execute command, paste it in, and it seems to work fine. It tells me the maximum salary is 5,000, the minimum salary is 800, and the salary range is 4,200. So that all makes sense. And as you can see, the 3 pieces of data are in 3 separate lines, and that corresponds with my 3 separate dbms output commands here in the main body of the procedure. So that's the procedure done, finished, working. And for convenience, when you're working on PLSQL, you could build up a whole lot of procedures in your account, and they only get in the way eventually. So my suggestion is that as you do each procedure, as you finish it and get it working, you then drop it. So drop it removes it from the database, and it's no longer in your way, or it no longer will interrupt or interfere with anything else that you're doing. So that's the end of this first PLSQL procedure to demonstrate how to do a simple task in Oracle PLSQL of getting the largest and smallest salaries for employees and calculating the difference between them.